All right, so in this video, we're just going to talk about some quick vocab. We are going to look at increasing versus decreasing intervals in polynomials. Now, some of you are going to get confused between the idea of increasing versus positive and decreasing versus negative. So we're just going to start there. And this is something that you should have been exposed to in Algebra 1, but if you weren't, it should be pretty quick to pick up. So what you see here are two positive intervals. So the left-hand interval goes from negative infinity to say x equals, I don't know, -7. We'll just ballpark it. And then the next interval goes from, say, -2 to +3. So these are two positive intervals. The next two intervals are negative intervals. Now notice the positive intervals is when your y value is positive. The negative intervals is when your y value is negative. So basically your x-axis is a cutoff between what's positive and what's negative. Now these are very close in wording, but very different in definition from decreasing and increasing. So this is positive up on top and negative on the bottom. When you're thinking instead of positive and negative, you're thinking about increasing and decreasing, you're not thinking about what your y values are. You're thinking about when you trace the function from left to right, if you trace it going down or going up. So notice this first interval I'm showing you, this is a decreasing interval. It goes from -infinity to say -5. So this function is decreasing on that interval. After it decreases, you would notice your finger would start to trace it going upward, and now you're on an increasing interval. So say from -5 to 1, this function is increasing. You always reference that from this value to this value based on the x values. So now after it increases, it decreases again. So say from 1 to infinity, this function is decreasing. So notice it has two decreasing intervals and one increasing interval. The easiest way to tell when it is increasing and decreasing is just by tracing that polynomial with your finger. When does my finger go up? When does my finger go down? And you want to make sure you trace from left to right. So here's another example. This one has something different on the right side, and we'll get there. So if we start tracing in the bottom left corner, we're going to trace going up first. So we have an increasing interval from -infinity to, let's say that's x equals -6. Now after our increasing interval, I jump right into a decreasing interval from -6 to -1, and then I increase again. Notice I cut it off right where it turns to going flat. Now whenever you have something that's a line that's flat, that's called constant. So that's neither increasing or decreasing, it is remaining constant. So not only do you have increasing and decreasing intervals, some of those intervals are going to be constant. So just keep that in mind as well.